HolloTalk podcast. This is Jetpack Nick, and I'm here with a very, very, very special guest today. My main man, Mr. Aki Garrett. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, y'all? Good to be here, Jet. Pat, Nick, appreciate you, brother, always.
No, you already know, man. Give me some that, baby. Ah.
Sir. Yes, sir. It's good to be
Oh
here, man.
man, no, that's what's up, man. So how you doing? How you feeling? Let's start off with that.
I'm good, man. I'm good. It was a, long week. Lots been going on this year. 2023 has not spared any moments, but all in all, I'm good. Feel good. My family's good. Just trying to continue to make forward progress, you know what I mean? And stay level, stay balanced, and keep everything in perspective. This thing called life can take you on a wild ride. So just trying to keep everything balanced in perspective, How you feeling?
No, I'm good, man. Listen,
What's
not
up?
for nothing. I'm excited. Like I got the
Yeah.
Aki Garrett on the HolloTalk
That's
podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm
the
saying?
first time I ever had anybody put "the" in front of my name, which is dope. Like,
He's a legend.
yeah,
Listen,
like I'm a legend in my own right, I guess.
listen, man. The people gonna find out why in just a second. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
So for the people who don't know who you are, can you let them
Sure.
know who you are, what you're about, and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm as Nick said, I'm Aki Garrett, born and raised in Philadelphia, South Philly, small side to be exact. Um, I went to school in Philly, through high school, graduated and went to Shipley School out in Bryn Mawr. So I took that long hour and a half commute every day, out to the suburbs and back. But it really kind of, set the course for the rest of my life, to be quite honest. And so yeah, so now my current role, I'll kind of walk you through my career background a little bit, but it's kind of, to sum it up, it's kind of, college to Wall Street, back to business school, back to Wall Street, and then into the media and entertainment industry, where I've spent the better part of the last like 13 years, building my career in the media and entertainment business development and M&A space. I currently am the vice president of business development and mergers and acquisitions at Revolt, and as well as the GM and founder of the Revolt Podcast Network. So for those that don't know, Revolt is the largest Black-owned media company in the country, founded 10 years ago by the legendary Sean Love Combs. He, music icon, entertainment icon turned business mogul, launched a media company 10 years ago that has, scaled and become a very powerful voice in the Black culture community and hip hop community. Not only talking about the music and the arts and the culture, but also talking about things like social justice, and voters' rights and police brutality, and really taking a stand to disrupt and be a voice in those spaces where Black people have been traditionally marginalized. So I'm excited to be here, like I said, Nick, and happy to talk to you and talk to my people back in Philly and talk to my people all around the country or all around the world, frankly, about what it is I do, why I do it, and hopefully leave some gems behind for people to pick up and run with.
You already know. So we go. I'm gonna just take a time out. You know what I'm saying? So I could address the people for a second.
Yes, sir.
Y'all heard what he said. Y'all heard what he do. Y'all heard who he is. He's on the HolloTalk podcast. In the
Absolutely.
words of
Honor.
Fat Joe, yesterday's price is not today's price.
No, man, really, it's an honor to be here. Like I said, as soon as you asked me about, the opportunity to be on your podcast, presenting me with that, I was happy to come on and support, young Black creative trying to, do his thing, especially from my hometown. Anything I can do to support folks that are trying to be progressive and trying to, build and do something positive, it's my duty.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on here, honestly, man. And just the fact that, you know, you took your time out to say, yeah, man, I'd love to come on and talk to you and, be on the HolloTalk podcast. Is nothing more important to me than that. So thank you. And I appreciate you. And let's have an amazing episode, man.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so since this is a podcast, and since you are a podcast man, let's talk
Yeah.
about podcasting. So if you
Bet.
can, can just kind of outline what your background is in podcasting, and also, just how you got started in it. Have you ever had a podcast before? Do you plan on
Yeah.
starting your own?
Well, I
the
can
whole
answer that
nine,
question
man.
pretty easily. I've never had a podcast.
Really?
I never had a podcast, and I kind of accidentally fell into the podcasting world. Like, had you asked me in, the I would say the winter of 2013, if 6 months later, 7 months later, I'd be launching a podcast network at CBS, that would go on to give birth to legendary podcasts like Drink Champs and Rap Radar, and a number of other podcasts, I
Shouts out to them.
would have said, nah. You know what I mean? I just didn't think it was, it's not something I thought about, right? And so it was really, so I was working at, to kind of give you a little bit of background about how I got into podcasting space. It was in I'll say into 2013, going into 2014. I was at CBS Local, which is the digital division of CBS Radio, in New York. We were in the Time and Life building up on 54th and 6th. So I was on 54th and 6th Ave between 6th and Broadway. And I was working in the digital division, like I said, doing business development, right? And we were sitting around thinking about ways to kind of continue to grow the digital business. And there was a podcast that had hit the marketplace that really kind of, I would say, was the catalyst for podcasting 2.0, which was Serial. I don't know if you all remember the Serial podcast. It was a true crime podcast. And that podcast just went crazy. Everybody was listening to it. The advertiser, I believe at the time, was SurveyMonkey. They paid like $5,000 to advertise in every single episode. And I think in retrospect, when they looked at the earned advertising dollars on that, it was something like $2.5 to $3 million in terms of the value that they got out of it. And so that was kind of like a tipping point, at which point, it was like, hey, this thing called podcasting is going to make a renaissance, right? And so I'm sitting there looking at CBS and CBS Radio, and at the time, CBS Radio was the second largest radio network in the country, had stations in 26 of them, all 26 major markets, including New York, Miami, Chicago, LA, Philly, so forth and so on. And so we had the infrastructure, right? We had studios, we had producers, we had all the infrastructure from a radio company that you would need, frankly, to record podcasts. And so what we said was, how can we activate that network? How can we activate those resources as needed to basically start a podcast network? And so we set about, myself and my team set about building out a podcast network. And I remember the first podcast we signed was with a sleep doctor. I can't remember his name, but he was like the leading sleep doctor in the country. We were just so hungry to kind of get the network started. And so we were reaching out to everybody. And the first one that kind of bit was the sleep doctor. And that was like, the jumping off point. And we went on to sign over 100 plus podcasts. We built a substantial business. We had, folks like Amber Rose, Ric Flair, like I said, Rap Radar podcast with Elliot B. Shout out to Rap Radar for sure. We had Drink Champs on there. Shout out to
Shouts out to Drink Champs. Uncle Nori.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we worked with Michael Rappaport and the Michael Rappaport podcast. We had Stassi Schroeder from one of those Bravo reality shows. Her podcast went crazy unexpectedly. We just had a whole bunch, and I got to know people, across all across Hollywood, right, and across media and entertainment, across sports, that wanted to leverage a podcast in the very early stages as a media platform. And then not too long after we launched, maybe six to 8 months after we launched, Spotify made the announcement that they were getting into the podcasting space because, as you well know, buying music catalogs or licensing music catalogs is quite expensive. And so their plan to kind of diversify away from their dependency on music catalogs was, hey, let's get into the podcast game. And so CBS, our podcast network, which was called Play.it at CBS, became the one of the first 5 Spotify partners. And so we distributed all of our podcasts through Spotify. And went to the launch party, which was super dope. I'll never forget that launch party. It was something out of like a movie. It was crazy.
You got some stories about it that you could tell?
Not that I can remember. I remember the visuals, not all the stories. It was such a celebratory time that, like, I remember the CEO got up on stage and it felt like I was at like the Apple developers conference, right? Where Tim gets up on stage and starts talking about all the new devices and new products. This guy got up on stage and he was like, this is the dawn of a new era, and like Spotify is going to take over the audio spoken word game and so forth and so on. I was just so hype and enthusiastic about it, and throwing back a couple of drinks too at the time. So, to cloud my memory. But this is so long ago. It's almost 10 years ago. Hard
Oh, wow.
Long. But 9 or 10 years ago. Yeah. Oh, sorry, 8 or 9 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. So almost 10. But yeah. So we were one of their first partners. And it was a real cool experience to really build something from the ground up. Like, I got to see all sides of the podcasting business, whether it was the front end UI UX of a website, helping working with our design team and products team to build that. It was working with our tech team on the back end, everything from hosting on Triton to leveraging AdsWiz and some of these other prominent podcast infrastructure partners that have now gone on and gotten acquired by the likes of iHeart or Spotify or Amazon. So, to see the consolidation, I remember they were all standalone independent companies. To see like them get scooped up and consolidated has also been just an amazing thing to watch in the podcast space. So I've been in the podcast space from the early days, and it's just something that has stuck with me. And when I got to Revolt, I knew that was something that they wanted to do, which was start a podcast network. And so I said, I did it once. Let me just do it again. And I pitched the business internally, got the green light, and I want to say we launched in August 19th of 2022. So we're coming up on roughly 7 months in the podcasting space.
Oh, really? Is that new? Really?
It's that new. Yeah. It
really?
feels a lot older because I was working on it for so long. Just to kind of get everything, all the pieces in place. But we launched in August, and we've scaled nicely in a very, very short period of time. And I've got some really good shows and a really excited audience. And we'll continue to grow and scale it. We see it as a great place to support independent content creators, to seed new talent. And then exactly. There you go. Point it yourself. There you go. We see it as a place like seed new talent, and and to help independent content creators really build a business, right? Turn something that's a hobby into a business. So I'm excited.
Man, me too.
Indeed.
No, I mean, and the reason I'm saying that I'm excited is because I'm actually able to have a conversation with you about these specific topics. So, this is generally topics that, I would have with, just people in my circle, like how do we turn it into something that we could profit off and everything like that? How, like, what's the steps I need to take to get where I am right now talking to you? Like, I didn't really have no blueprint per se. I just was creating content. I'm on my 5th season, and this is off the muscle, just creating content, meeting different people, talking to amazing people, having dope conversations, and that translating into this opportunity right here, talking to you. I wanted to ask too, you being the general manager of a major podcasting platform, how do you go about who you choose to be a part of that network?
Yeah, so we look for a number of different things, right? I mean, I think there's so many different factors that go into it. I'll try and kind of keep it simple for this conversation. Otherwise, I could probably talk for about 45 minutes just on this one question alone. But I would say high level, what we look for is, I say kind of the first two things we look for is kind of alignment with the overall Revolt ethos, right? Like the beautiful thing about the podcast network and the way we pitch our podcast network is, powered by creators, anchored, in hip hop, right? And we mean hip hop. We don't necessarily mean hip hop in terms of just the music. We mean hip hop in terms of the culture, right?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, that culture is inextricably linked to hip hop culture and vice versa, right? And so we want to have, creators and voices on there that understand how to talk to this hip hop generation, right? How to talk to millennials and Gen Z, more importantly, since they are the hip hop, the active hip hop generation. Like I'm a millennial, and I'm the first year millennial, so I'm pretty much I'm aged out, right? Like there's a lot of I don't know a lot of these new hip hop artists. I'm
I
not
feel
listening
you.
to the drill music. Like that's not my wave. Like I'm still listening to De La, like they came out
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
shouts out to Daylight.
You know,
That's
yeah,
actually my favorite rap group of all time. So
yes, those are my guys, man. Those are my guys, and rest in
yeah,
peace, True Boy.
yes, rest in peace to
But
Bud
yeah,
too.
yes. But so yeah, so like people who can talk to this generation, right? Because this is the generation that is, this is the generation that is, shaping what's cool and defining the cool factor and shaping what's next. And so we look for people who can talk to that generation and are aligned with kind of that hip hop, that hip hop culture and Black culture. I would say the second thing we look for is kind of creative formats, right? You and I were just talking about this. Like,
Yeah.
talk is great, and I don't mind talk formats, but to the extent that we can start to find things outside of talk formats, like narrative fiction or comedy or true crime, those types of formats, I think are really dope. And there's just not enough of them in the Black podcasting universe, right? And so those are wide open spaces for people who want to create content to create, content that is just different, right? And so
Right.
that's another area. Obviously, good audio quality, kind of some of the nuts and bolts, block and tackle stuff, good audio quality, engaging personalities and people hosts that'll hustle, right? Like I tell people all the time, and I've been saying this for the last 10 years, podcasting is a long game.
Yeah, easily.
Right. It's you're not going to build a massive audience overnight. No podcast has. Podcasts you see today that are successful, they've probably been around for 7 or 8 years. But they've stuck to it. They've been dedicated, determined, and disciplined, and been focused on, building their brand, creating engaging content, and have been ruthlessly and shamelessly, marketing themselves.
Oh,
And
hold on, wait. Let me plug myself.
there you go. There you go. The HolloTalk podcast. There you go. Talk your shit. You should never don't dim your light. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, don't dim your light so somebody else can shine. Like
No, real tough.
that's not your that's not your role. Your role is to continue to shine. And so, push your podcast, get out and meet people, how we met at Rec Philly. You know what I mean? That's the way you do it, right? You're very clear about who you are and what you're trying to do and
Absolutely.
what projects you're working on. And so, those are the type of people that tend to win in the podcast space. There's a lot we could do as Revolt, but it's only but so much, right? We're trying to manage a whole network,
Right.
and so it's kind of like it's a marriage, right? It's not a single parenthood where like we got to take care of all of our podcasts. Like we have to work in concert to really help build and develop your show. So yeah, I mean that's what we look for, kind of at a high level. And I'll say the last thing, and I'll wrap it up. And this is obviously less relevant to you, being that you're a male, but one of the things that we know in the space from a thought leadership perspective, and just from a research perspective, is that the Black female voice is a lot less prevalent and present in the podcasting space. And so I make it a personal mission myself, and we've made it a mission at Revolt to make sure that we're elevating the voice of Black women, right? And so, when we look at the balance of podcasters we have on our network right now, I'm not too pleased because we are skewing heavily male, but we're about to bring on a new class of podcasters here in the next couple of weeks, and it will be dominated by females.
Okay.
My goal is to have a female podcast, a network that is predominantly, led by Black female hosts. Not to say that we will, not bring on male hosts, but my goal is to really elevate and lift that voice up for Black women, because, what would we be without them, right?
That is 100% true.
It's essential. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like I need to, come over to Revolt Podcast Network, because it sounds like that's where the place to be, especially for
it is. We are. There are other Black podcast networks, but I think what we're putting together over at Revolt is special. And the reason why I say that is because, and I say this, often when I'm talking to prospective podcasters, that you're not just joining Revolt podcast network, you're joining the Revolt Media family, right? And we
Absolutely.
have a flywheel of so many different opportunities to engage and to bring in our podcasters and give them opportunities and experiences and exposure outside of just their podcast. I'll give you an
Right.
example. We have a podcast on our platform called Human and Human with Stacey Ike. Stacey Ike is she's a very well-spoken, charismatic, humble, but very with a very good perspective and a very good instinct for interviewing people, and she's done tons of red carpets and press junkets and talk shows and things like that.
Right.
And so she's a podcaster on our platform, and we actually had her on as a guest host of a guest correspondent or guest host of our Revolt Black News franchise, which filmed in
Really?
Atlanta, right?
Wow.
She also was a guest on our one of our original television shows called Black Girl Stuff, which is it's a talk show format for Black women.
Yeah.
And she came on and she was a guest. She was a guest on that, right? And so again, the relationship started on the podcast side, but we saw other areas where we could leverage her talent and expertise across the Revolt ecosystem to plug her in. And so that's just one of a number of examples that I have in terms of how we engage with our podcasters and look to plug them into other areas and opportunities.
So let's stay right there for a second, because coming into this conversation, like I didn't know like all of that was a part of being a part of the Revolt Media family. And also what you said too before that, which you mentioned, somebody that you will want to bring in to be able to talk to the hip hop community and just have that background to be able to push the culture forward and be able to move with it as it flows naturally, which hip hop culture runs the world basically. That's something that I'm very, very intrigued about, because like I said, we talked it on here, we talked on the record too. Like this is something that I'm very, very intrigued in being a part of, especially now knowing those nuances that go into, being a part of the Revolt Media family, knowing that hip hop is a major, major part of what goes on there. And what you just mentioned too, as far as you all being able to take the podcasters that you bring into the Revolt Media family and be able to put them in position to do other things that that use the other talents that they have, that's not just specific to podcasts. And I think that is one of the most important things that anybody can do or any business can do for the people that populate that business. And being able that I'm talking to you, like that's something that I commend y'all for, and that's something that me personally I would love to be a part of, to see where I could use my talents to impact the culture more than I'm doing now with the HolloTalk podcast in its current form.
For sure, yeah. I mean, that's like I said, that's one of our competitive advantages as a Black-owned media company, and as a podcast network that we have. We're not just a podcast network, right? There's a lot of podcast networks that are just very standalone. They are just podcast networks, right? And so what they do, and they do really well, is just podcasting. And I like to think that we do podcasting well, but we also have these other opportunities, like I said, that allow creators and creatives to really shine and really kind of flex their muscle in a number of different mediums. So yeah, we take we look at podcasts, submissions, and whether they're new ideas or their existing podcasts, and we really try to evaluate them and say, is this something that we feel like, one, we can help grow, and two, do we feel like it's really talking to our audience in a way that would resonate, right? And then obviously you lay over the fact that we have a sales team that help podcasters again turn something from a hobby into something that's monetized, right? This can be an expensive medium if you make it. It can be an inexpensive medium as well, but at the end of the day, monetizing the spoken word is possible, and we have the ability to do that. So, that's a way we can help build creators, and like I said, turn creators hobbies into profitable projects. We've obviously got a tremendous platform to market to a lot of end users and end listeners, and we're only getting better. I would say where we were 5 months ago versus where we are today it's leaps and bounds better, and there's still a lot more that we can do from a marketing perspective, and a lot more that we will do, over the course of the next 3 to 6 months to really get our marketing efforts humming. And then, just making sure that we're distributing podcasts as broadly as we can, making sure that we're leveraging our partnerships with Apple and Spotify and other platforms to get attention and spotlight on our podcast network in general, and more specifically on podcast shows and podcast episodes, as they're developed. So we've got great relationships with those platforms, that help us to, again, elevate podcasters that ordinarily wouldn't get access to those spotlight opportunities.
Right. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you answered this question I'm about to ask in some form of
Mm-hmm.
fashion, but I'll ask it
Okay.
just to see if you have a different answer, right? So, like I said, we talking on the record and we talked off the record, and I thoroughly expressed that being a part of the Revolt Media platform is something that's a major dream of mine, right?
Yeah.
So, for someone such as me or anybody who has a dream to be on a major podcast platform, how do you get a yes from someone such as yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's again, it's showing those things. It's like showing that commitment, that dedication, and showing that willingness to to almost, it's just in some ways, and I don't say this pejoratively. I don't say this as in like, it's like we're testing you, but like, again, it's a long game, right? And I want people who are dedicated. So I want people to like prove themselves to me, right? So it's like, your first season, I might bring you on and say, okay, do a season of 16 shows, like prove to me that like, what you've done for the last 5 years isn't a fluke, right? It's not like you're going to get to the goal line and fumble the ball, like
right.
run through the finish line, right? That for me is a lot of what I look for. And then just look for people who always want to continue to get better, right? Like if you show me that you're trying to get better, and you're trying to, improve and you're hungry, like that to me is how people get yeses, right? Part of that is persistence, right? Part of that is, when people aren't watching you, you're still putting on your best performance, right? And you're still doing your best. You're always trying to get better. You're self-directed. I mean, that's how you get noticed, right? The hardest part, I think, is frankly, I think you've already succeeded, which is just making yourself known, making it known that you have a podcast, right? I think there's something like over 3 million podcasts in the world. So, there's a lot, you're competing against a lot of content out there.
Right.
The hardest part is getting somebody to know you, right? And to notice that you're out there, right? And so that's the hard part, right? Everything else from this point is just, dedication, consistency, staying persistent, and then waiting and at the same time creating your opportunity.
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Explaining your, what differentiates you, what makes your podcast unique and special, right? Like that's the stage you're at now, right? Now you have the attention of somebody like myself. Now it's a matter of like, here's the value I bring to the Revolt Podcast Network, or any network for that instance. But
right.
for that reason, sorry. But the hardest part, frankly, is getting noticed. I mean, that is, 3 million podcasts out there. It's hard to, with hundreds of trillions of YouTube videos out there, it's hard to get noticed. You know what I mean? So
no, that's a fact. So the reason I asked that question, and I'll say that, I'll say what I'm about to say, and then we can take a quick commercial break. But the reason I asked that question is because not everybody is presented with an opportunity like I have right now. Like we're live on camera. I'm talking to the guy that gives you the yes, and here you are with a whole new platform, but you can create a whole new life for yourself. Not everybody gets an opportunity to do this face to face. Sometimes they just got to do things to get noticed. And I've been on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to that, trying to get to this point, and now I'm at this point and I'm doing what I need to do to get to the next chapter of where I see myself in this space. So, for me, I just think that it's important to say that people do need to just continue to stay the course and stay true to who they are, what they're about, and what they do when it comes to what they want to create as far as their podcast or any business or any creative outlet that they're in. this is possible is essentially what I'm saying. Like when I started the HolloTalk podcast 3 years ago, yeah, 3 years ago to this month actually. Like I didn't think that I could get here quite this fast. When I first started, I was like, I got the talent, I got the personality, I got the charisma, I got the skills. I just need the chance to be in front of the people
Yeah.
that give me the thumbs up to say, yeah, you got it. It took me 3 years
Mm-hmm.
to get to this point. So there's absolutely no way that I would ever shortchange myself to say, oh, I got to this point now. That's it. It's over. Like, no, I'm knocking on the door now. Let's get to it now. I'm about to come in. Let's get in the kitchen and start chefing it up. Let's go.
Right,
You know?
right. Now's not the time to drop the ball. And I think, I think again, it's a testament to, showing being at the right place in the right time, right? Opportunity, luck is when, always say, luck is when opportunity meets preparation,
Yep.
right? So, it's, I remember when I was in undergrad, I would hear a lot of stories about, if you want a job or you want X, Y, and Z, like, I would hear stories like, Wall Street lore, like I went and showed up to a conference that this guy was speaking at, and I was able to get up to him and I said, listen, I'm a senior at X, Y, and Z University. I really want to work at your firm. I've studied your firm, da da da. And it's led to them getting the opportunity and then they taking a run with it. And so a lot of it is keeping your ear to the ground, coming to things like Rec Philly when those events happen, presenting yourself well, being assertive but not aggressive, and being clear about who you are, what you'd like to do, and then having the follow up, right? I was impressed with your follow up. Less than 48 hours later, you hit me up with a
Mm-hmm.
follow up, like pleasure to meet you, and you put the offer out there. I would love to have you on my podcast and so forth. And a lot of times people won't do that, right? They won't quote unquote shoot their shot because they're afraid
Mm-hmm.
of somebody saying no. And I'm the kind of person like I like to support. I know I respect.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the How Talk podcast. We had a little technical difficulty, but we back and we better than ever, man. My guy Aki Garrett.
Back, we're here. We ain't never left
Yeah,
the building.
yeah, man. Yeah, sir. So please though, feel free to pick up where you left off.
No, so I was just saying, like, listen, I've been in a position where, like, I've been the one who's like, trying to get to a certain, place or space in life. And, unless, you know, I respect the grind, I respect the hustle. So I'm, like I said, I got to help those that, as much as I can to achieve their dreams, because I've had a lot of, mentorship and, fortunate breaks go my way to be able to do what I've done so far. So I'm all in it.
No, yeah, and not for nothing. Like it's really, really amazing and admirable to see people such as yourself be in positions that you're in. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure like you know people if you've been around people who are in these positions where, they get here and they like, no, like it's cool. Everybody got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and
Mm-hmm.
all of those types of sayings or whatever. And like, I mean, I guess in some kind of way, but my whole theory is if you can help somebody, why not help them? You know,
Absolutely.
like especially if they're deserving of it too. Like, why
Yeah.
not help them?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nick. I mean, I think, you know, it does, I lose nothing, right? Again,
Right.
I don't have to dim somebody else's shine just so I can shine brighter, right? We can
Mm-hmm.
all shine together. You know what I mean? And so for me, I never, the way you make progress is by building off of the momentum of those before you, right? Or those that are giving you an opportunity, right? And so like if as a people we're always resetting, like everybody has to always start from the bottom, right? And nobody gets a boost, you'll never make progress, because as soon as you make progress, you go back, that next generation has to go back
Mm-hmm.
to the bottom and pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. So I hate
Right.
that thing. Like you'll never hear me say that shit, because to me it's just it's almost inhumane, right? Like
Basically, yeah.
humans are a socialized, creature. Like we're here to like build society and like advance, right? And if we don't do that for one another, if we don't help, lift while we climb, like it's, to me, like I prefer that saying, like, lift while you climb, because then you never make progress, right? And so, we just don't have, as a people, we don't have the luxury of not doing that, right? And I just
Of
wish more
course.
people understood how critical it is, uh, given who we are and given, our, the position of our people in society. For us, it's almost imperative. Like we don't have the option not to do it. Feel me?
No, it's a fact, and just please allow me to take this moment to big you up as well as plenty of the other people who have played a major part in my life as far as me becoming the person that I am today, as well as the
Yeah.
creative that I am today. I just want to take a moment to big y'all up real quick and
Who are
say,
your big? Who are so? Let me ask you a question. Who are your big? Who have been some of your biggest supporters?
uh, my parents, my family in general, my close circle of friends,
Mm-hmm.
um, basically everybody that has been on the HolloTalk podcast, like I'll just say this, like to that point, like anybody that has came on the HolloTalk podcast off the strength of me just meeting you one time or having a small conversation with you, thank you all for supporting me at my start point because I'm bound to blow up your way. So you can say that you knew me before I I became the biggest podcaster in the game. So
Indeed. Indeed.
I definitely want to big everybody up that has just showed me love and showed me
Mm-hmm.
support and just believed in who I am as a person and what I could do with who I am as a person in the spaces
Yeah.
that I frequent. So, being in the podcast space, the media space, and
Yeah.
any other room that I decide to step foot in. Um, yeah, like it's a lot of people to just name outright, but
Yeah.
for the people who
Mm-hmm.
know who they are, they know who they are, and for the people who are going to continue to play a major role in my growth and my development as a
Yeah.
person and as a creator, thank you in advance. But like I said, thanks to you too, because all of it has led me to this moment to be in front of you, build a relationship with you, and talk to
Yeah.
you about, just regular life stuff, let alone, podcasting and what my future is going to look like in this space. Like, yeah, I hope to God and pray that I get a contract that come across that table and it say, just sign your name on it, bro. Like, what I'm saying? Let's make it happen. Like,
Yeah.
I hope to God that happens. But
Mm-hmm.
all in all, off the strength of just building a relationship with you, like a human connection, like let alone forget the business shit and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a major, major thing for me. And the fact that you take your time out to build this relationship with me on a personal level, like
Mm-hmm.
that tells me everything I need to know about what it would look like going into business with y'all. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you believe
Mm-hmm.
in me enough to just do that. Like, just see me
Mm-hmm.
as Jetpack Nick, the podcaster. You see me as Nicholas Holloman, the 25-year-old dude from Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And like that means more to me than anything.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, that's
So thanks to you, man.
it's always no problem, man. I appreciate you, and it's an honor to get to know you and hear your story. Like I said, growing up in Philly, it's not an easy place to make it. You know what I mean?
That's a
And
fact.
when you meet young people like yourself who are well spoken, you know, honest and just kind of grounded and really wanting to make better for themselves and their family. Like again, I gotta pour into that. You know what I mean? I gotta pour into that. We gotta water those flowers. You feel me? And so, um, no, it's I'm excited about what you're doing and how you're going about it. And I see, I think you got what it takes to be successful. You know what I mean? You got what it takes to be successful, and now you just got to believe in yourself, what you already do, and just continue to plug away at it. We look up 5 years from now, and you'll be in a totally different place. You look back and be like, man, that shit was crazy. Like 5 years ago, I never pictured. Like what you just said earlier. Like 3 years ago, I
Nah,
never pictured
right.
today. The goal is now, 5 years from now to go back and
Mm-hmm.
see, that day I met with Aki, I never pictured where I'd be 5 years later, right? Because it's possible. Like I said, it's possible. I'm not gonna say it's easy. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
say it's not gonna be without setbacks, but it's all possible, right? It just, it's hard work, dedication, and discipline. So yeah, so it's I'm just excited, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this podcast. I'm excited I'm excited to, to watch you evolve and grow and hopefully play a role in that.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, again, I just really just had to say, like, I just had to take that time just to say thank you to you and to everybody else that's played a major role in my
No,
development and who I've become and who I'm still becoming, because it is, everybody wants to feel appreciated, everybody wants to feel thanked and everything. So, I
mhm.
feel like it's my duty to take that moment to, say thank you while I can do it to your face. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate you, man.
So
Yep.
to you and to everybody else that's came on the HolloTalk podcast and my family and my friends, my loved ones, thank
Yeah.
y'all for getting me to this point. And Aki, man, I'm telling you, I'm just waiting for you to slide that contract across the table, man. You know what I'm saying?
The virtual table, like,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That's all I'm waiting for now.
I
Like,
hear you. I
let's
hear
make
you.
it happen, man.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear
Listen,
you.
they say you miss 100% of the shots you
That
don't
you
take.
don't take.
I'm
Yeah.
shooting, baby. No, man. But like let's put the focus back on you, man. So it's something that I want to talk to you about that we share a love with, and that is filmmaking and
Mhm,
movies, right? So for the
mhm.
people who listen to Hot Talk Podcast, they obviously know that I'm an actor extraordinaire. So
Self-label. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, these are not my words, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I was told by the masses. No, but yeah, man, you into filmmaking, man. Talk to me
Yeah,
about.
I've done some stuff in the past, and film and television have always been like, my passions of mine. So I started in 2007.
Ooh,
My brother and my late brother, Garrett, rest in peace.
rest in peace.
We did his first film called A Nick in Time, which actually
Mm-hmm.
on the Sundance and Tribeca and Cannes Film Festival and
Damn,
30 other film festivals. And
that's what's up,
yeah,
man.
when I went out to Sundance, man, like literally that week we were out there, it was like such a transformative experience. It really kind of charted the course, kind of started the thought process and kind of charted the course for like, me getting into media entertainment. After that, I did another 2 years on Wall Street, went back to business school,
Mm-hmm.
my MBA, came out, did media investment banking, TMT, technology, media, telecom, investment banking. And then I pivoted into the industry and have been in the media industry ever since. But that really kind of planted the seeds. And so I did that in 2007. We were in Sundance in 08, and then came back in 2012 or 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. It's all these years kind of go together.
Right.
And we did a second film called American Falls.
Okay.
That was a bit longer it was about a 25-minute short. And that one ended up doing really well too. Got into a bunch of film festivals like Venice Film Festival and a number of other film festivals. I can't remember the exhaustive list.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the second one we did, and that was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, like I said, my brother passed away a few years back, but he left about a bunch of content behind. And so, I've made it kind of my, part of my life's mission, he always wanted to have a feature film or a prime time, television show, episodic television show, produced and he always wanted to direct it.
Mm-hmm.
He was a director and a writer. And so I've kind of, made it my kind of like, part of my life's mission to see that to fruition for him in his honor. So, I've picked up some of his projects and tried to dust them off and just, starting to think about how do we get these things made and start to put the pieces together. Hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll have, I'll be able to, check that off my list of, things that I want to accomplish, in his, like I said, in his honor, because he and I he meant so much to me and it means so much
Mm-hmm.
to me in the spirit, in the spiritual essence. And so, it's yes, it's something I'm really passionate about. But yeah, film has always been film and television, they've always been just very, very I'm very, very, deep interest of mine. I've always been, more inclined on the business side and less on the
Right.
creative side, which is why he and I were such good partners because he was more creative, much more creative. I was much more business focused. Even though we were 12 years apart, we still were able to, really kind of, boogie together and make stuff happen. So, yeah, it's definitely something I see, at some point in my career, turning my full time and attention to. when the time is right to finish some of his projects and continue to just help other, dope creators, dope content creators, dope filmmakers, dope,
Yeah.
writers, bring their dreams, to fruition. Right. So yeah, I think, as I progress in my career, and we'll see where time we'll see where life takes me, right? But I think a lot of the experiences I'm having, the network of people I know, the friends that I have, the business associates that I have, like it's all I can kind of see the dots starting to connect.
Of course.
So yeah.
Yeah, now you're talking to actor extraordinaire.
And I'm talking to actors. I got my lead and anything I need. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like
you know what I'm saying? They
film a
call me
script and
they call me
it's a
Nick
wrap.
Zell Washington,
Yeah,
baby.
there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's funny because I actually had dinner Tuesday night with Nate Parker.
Really?
Yeah, we had dinner in LA with Nate and
Man, that's a little flex. Like you just threw that in there like that
oh
was
well, yeah, I mean he's a human being like all the rest of us, right?
yeah.
And I'm not one of those people who's like starstruck. I mean, I walked in earlier that day. I walked into lunch at a dope restaurant in Culver City called Etta, and to go to sit down, I look to my left, and who's sitting next to me? Bryan Cranston
What?
from Breaking
Breaking
Bad,
Bad.
and was it Michael Key from Key and Peele?
Ooh.
They were having lunch, and they were sitting right next to me. So I wasn't like, oh, it was Bryan
Yeah,
Cranston.
now that you bring all this up, we might need to expedite this this contract to remote meeting.
Yeah,
We need to make that happen
happened
tonight.
tonight. It's so late. It's so late right now. I'm like, I'm a do this with you, and then I'm gonna go hit the sack. I get up tomorrow morning with my children and spend some time, some quality daddy kid time. But no, but we'll definitely circle back in the next couple of weeks and see how we move that forward for sure.
No, for sure,
But
man.
but yeah, no. So he was telling me the reason why I bought Nate up is because he was really kind of giving me his perspective on content and kind of what moves the needle in Hollywood.
Right.
And, he has some really interesting perspectives on like eventizing. Whatever he said. Like the key is whatever you do has to be an event, right? It has to be like an event that people are going to show up for, right? They got to be like looking forward to it. Like when he did the Nat Turner film, he was like, the event was black man, is beheading white people, right? Like you don't see that too often. Like, that's an event. Like people got to show up. Like I got to show up to see this actually
Real
happen on
talk.
screen, right? Like
Real talk.
man leads major revolt and like kills thousands of white people or hundreds of white people in a film. It was a rebellion, right? And that turned
I
led a
did this. This is a true story, man.
exactly led a
This
rebellion
is a true
of
story.
captive Africans, and so
Mm-hmm.
you've never seen that on screen before,
That's a fact.
right? And
That's a
so
fact.
like to go see that, like people show up and show out to go see it. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
like, that to me is just how simplistically he put it really resonated just in terms of like it's like you got to eventize. It's a film, it's a
Mm-hmm.
2 hour body of work, but it's got to be an event, right? It's got to be like a clear defined event for why people need to show up, right? Otherwise
That's a fact.
people can do 1,001 other things with their time, right? And people don't show up, your film flops, you don't make any more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I got two questions for you, right?
Yeah.
So question one is, what is the one film or TV project that you dream of making? And the second question is, why is that the story that you want to tell?
Wow. I don't know if I have an answer to that question.
Okay.
I'll answer it very generally. I like to tell stories that, not to sound cliche, but I like to tell stories that
I ain't mean to stump you, my bad.
no, like they conjure up, they put you in, they put it. First of all, I like to tell, whether it's a biopic or it's based on a true story. Like I like to tell those stories in a scripted manner,
Right.
but I like to tell stories in a scripted manner that like put you at the center of something that is big,
Mm,
right? That is bigger than you, whether it's a circumstance, an event, a dilemma. It puts you at the center of it, and it allows you to tell the story from many different angles, right? So, like, I'll give you an example. Um, what was the film with Kaiser Soze?
oh, Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects. Like that
Hmm.
to me is one of my favorite movies because it literally
Yeah.
puts you at the center of an event, and you had all these different perspectives. You had to figure out what the hell is going on,
Hmm.
right? And it really wasn't until the end of the film that like the reveal happened. You're like, holy shit, I never would have thought of that, right? This is all a guy that you were
I know.
in
Yeah.
the guy's place, just making up this shit on the fly in an
Right.
interrogation room.
Why is
And
he
it,
walking straight all of a sudden?
right. But it was so seamless the way he was telling the story, and then you just see his feet, and he's walking crooked, and all of a sudden he straightens up, and he's
Right.
totally fine. You're like, holy shit! Like this guy was putting on an act the entire time. It was
Hmm.
just such a brilliant movie. And the bad thing about the film is that once you see the reveal, like kind of like
Yeah.
hard to go back and watch it again because it kind of kills,
Hmm.
the end, right? But when you first watch it, like this is absolutely genius,
Yep.
right? So I just like films that like put you at the center of an experience or something like that, and it allows you to like you feel like you're living in that experience in the moment, right? It can take you back in time if it's a
Hmm.
period piece. It can put you ahead in time if it's a futuristic piece. But it really puts you at the center of it. And so, you know, what yeah, I mean, those are types of projects that I think are really really interesting. I mean, there's a bunch of ideas I've written down of stories that I'd like to tell. Um, some are war stories, some are
Hmm.
just you know just American culture stories, Black culture stories. I love telling films about Black culture, about our
Of
culture, about
course.
stories, that aren't heard. We have our culture has thousands and thousands of stories that need to be told, that should be told, that haven't been told, right?
That's a
And
fact.
I just want to continue to try to tell our stories as a people.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what I try to do too. Like even through just through being an actor too. Like
Yeah.
whatever I can do or pull from that can that can put whatever the character is to
Mhm.
like if I could just bring out everything that I possibly can with the character that I'm playing, I try to
Yeah.
do it. Like that's something that I learned early on when I first started because my background is in theater. So like
Did you
I'm
go to
making
like
film.
Freedom Theater and stuff growing up, or?
No, so I started. So I always wanted to be an actor when I was a kid, but I just never like did it up
Yeah.
until college. So once I got to college, that's when I started theater and drama club and stuff like that. So then from that point forward, then I was like, all right, I'm in it now. I like got some connections. Like I can actually like go do it. So
Mhm.
like I actually just did a film last April. That was my first film.
Okay.
It was a short film. It's supposed to come out, don't quote me on this, but I think it's supposed to come out in June. So when it
Okay.
comes out, man, you might got to come to the city, come see
Yeah,
it,
let
come
me
see the
know.
premiere.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know. I'll pull up. I'll
No,
pull
for
up.
sure. But yeah, like just being an actor too, like it's a responsibility that like I put on myself kind of sort of to pull all I can from what this character is supposed to be like in
Right.
whatever the film or play is that I'm doing.
Yep.
Um, just try to pull from those experiences,
Yep.
being able to add my own kind of personality, my own flair to,
Yep.
what the story's trying to portray. And I also think that being a writer too, because I'm also in the process of writing a few different scripts, film and
Mhm.
TV.
Mhm.
Um, just using those experiences and like my travels and everything, just my
Mhm.
conversations with people, relationships with people, like putting all that into a script is a amazing experience. It's a challenging experience because
Mhm.
it's so long to like continuously do it. But once you get started though, and you really got an idea of what it is you're trying to tell, like the story you're
Mhm.
trying to tell and the
Mhm.
point you're trying to convey, it becomes a little bit easier to get through
Mhm.
those dog days. But
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
important.
storytelling it's a very pardon me, it's a very, it's not easy, right?
Not
It's
at
not
all.
easy. I'm not a good storyteller. I can recognize I'm not a good storyteller, but I can read a story and identify and recognize good storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Which one might find to be, paradoxical, right? Because it's like how if you can't tell a good story, like how can you determine what a good story is. It's
I
like,
mean,
if you didn't play basketball, how can you
no,
coach
I mean
basketball?
it's people that
Right.
listen to good music but can't make a song.
Can't make a song. Right, right. And so it's yeah, it's I know it's hard. I know
Hmm.
it's not easy to tell a great story, right? And for those, writers and producers who have done it over and over and over again, that's a testament to just their gift, right? To be able to tell great stories. But one thing I do know, and my brother used to always say this, was just like, just keep doing it, keep at it, and just keep refining it, right? Think about a
Hmm.
story as like a blob of clay, on a wheel, right? And you want to make a sculpture, right? Like, you guys got to keep working and keep, honing on the fine details and trimming slivers of clay here and slivers of clay there to get
Hmm.
into what you're trying to the piece of art you're trying to create. And so it's not like, I wrote 3 drafts and I'm done. It's like, no, like, I mean, one of my brother's pieces, I think he was on like draft like 56 before he passed away, like literally. And he just kept honing it. Until he was comfortable with it, right? Until he said, this is the story I'm trying to tell, and I think I've told it the right way. So
Hmm.
keep doing your thing, bro. Keep doing your thing. Don't stop, man.
Hey,
I want to see your name up in the bright lights, written and directed by Jetpack Nick for the HolloTalk podcast. Let's get it. You
you
feel me?
already know, man.
Mhm.
All right, so look, so I got 2 more questions for you, and please feel free to ask me some questions, man. Please.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Do you have any questions before I ask you these next couple of joints?
Fire me one other question.
All
I
right.
actually do have a couple questions
Oh,
for you.
go ahead. Come on, come on.
I want to hear a little bit more about what you're writing. About what you're writing. And what genres you like to write. I want to hear more about your creative process as well.
All
So
right. Okay.
yeah.
So there's the stuff that me and my 2 friends have been writing about has kind of sort of been just like what our experiences have been like just being friends. So I'm writing with a friend from college and a friend from high school. So
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Central Penn College. It's
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
it's a small college, like
Mhm.
not too far from Harrisburg.
I know
but
Central Penn.
but yeah, I went to Central Penn College. My homegirl Dope Queen, I was telling you about her on the record.
Mhm.
She's a frequent co-host on the HolloTalk podcast, and we also are writing some stuff together along with my homeboy Mark. What's up, y'all?
Shout
No,
out.
but yeah, so we kind of just like writing different things just pertaining to
Mhm.
our experiences. So like we're writing this TV show it started off about a brother and a sister in college. It's kind of like a sitcom type situation. They're in college, and the sister drops out of college without the knowledge of her father, knowing her father's their father is like a big tech guy, and the whole
Mhm.
stipulation of them finishing college is for the sister who's older than the brother is to take over the business from the father, but she has to finish college first. But she decides she wants to drop out and
Mhm.
pursue other things and
Mhm.
not tell her father that she decided to
Mhm.
drop out. So that's one of the drafts, I guess you can say, for the
Mhm.
TV show.
Mhm.
But we're in the process of
Yeah.
coming up with different stuff. But
Yeah.
but and then with uh the movie is kind of like, how do I want to say, like, I don't even know what I could compare it to offhand, but I guess as
Mhm.
I explain it, you might come up with a comparison. So
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
about 3 friends and well, not 3 friends, 2 brothers and a friend in
Mhm.
Philly.
Mhm.
Uh, one's a football player,
Mhm.
and the other one he summers in Philly, so he's from New York, but he comes up to Philly and he
Mhm.
summers with his 2 friends. And it's just about a day in Philly, basically. Uh,
Mhm.
they go to the mall, get into some stuff with some people.
Like Boys in the Hood.
Kind of, sort of, yeah, kind of, sort of like
Yeah.
that.
That's a
Just
lot.
Philly edition.
Philly edition. Yeah. 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 No, that's a listen, there's a lot that can happen in that day in Philly.
No, right, right.
There's a
I'm
lot.
trying to give it to you in like a vaguish kind of way.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, so
I
that
get it.
way, you
I
know,
get it. I
I
get it.
I
I
don't throw out the
get
whole
it.
story on
Yeah,
record,
don't throw
but
out the baby with the bathwater, one, but two, also, that story might change. It might, it'll evolve, like I said, as you guys write and draft and so forth. But no, that sounds dope. That sounds dope. I mean, I always believe like writing from personal experience, helps, right?
of
It
course it
gives
does.
a certain level of authenticity. I mean, I would tell, people, John Singleton wrote Boys in the Hood.
Hmm.
That was the reality he lived, right? Like, he saw it, right, as a young man in South Central. And so he was able to write such a compelling, authentic story,
Facts.
in retrospect, ahead of its times. Um, because it was lived experience. So yeah, no, that's exciting. And like I said, I think, I also think Philly's like one of the most untapped film, one of the most untapped cities when it comes to films. Like, there's so many stories out of Philly that haven't been told, right? Whether they're biopics or they're just day in the life of, or they're just about Philadelphia culture and so there's just so much, especially within our community, that hasn't been told. And so again, I love seeing creatives coming out there like yourself, that are trying to tell those stories, right? And it doesn't have to always be about the hood and the streets and getting money and all that stuff. It could be there's a lot. We're not a monolithic people, as you well know. There's a lot of different stories you could tell within Philly. You could tell a story about the what I call like the artsy community in Philly. Like there's a whole vibe, there's a whole everything. You know what I mean? And so
No, that's a fact.
the story would be dope.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask this question, right?
Yep.
So the question is, how do you go from being the person who creates the art to the person who profits from the art that you create?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that person's the same person, right?
Right, right,
Yeah, like I hate the whole art, art artist and art gallery, whole the artist and the art gallery setup, right? Where the art gallery makes more money than the artist, right?
right.
The starving artist and the rich gallery owner, they should be one and the same. Listen, I think the beautiful thing about today is that we have more, think about it. You got creators who create, and then creators need distribution, right?
Hmm.
20 years ago, distribution was consolidated, in the hands of the few, right? But nowadays, distribution has become much more democratized, right? So you can go out, look at Mr. Beast, look at all these YouTube influencers, right?
Hmm.
You can go out and build a massive audience of 20 million subscribers, as large as a cable network, in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, you got cable networks that are, 50 to 100 million homes. You got, YouTube, personalities like Mr. Beast who have, 50 to 100 million subscribers, right? I mean, he's as big as a major network, like CBS, NBC, ABC, right? And so he did it all on YouTube, right? And he's expanded to TikTok and other social platforms. But I think with distribution being democratized and eyeballs consolidating around, you know, eyeballs leaving kind of traditional linear cable and linear television, going more towards digital devices, and people spending so much time on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, those platforms, like, build where the audience is, right? If you're doing film, look at Quinta Brunson from Philly, right?
Hey, shouts out to Quinta.
Shout out to Quinta. Yeah, she built an entire, look at Issa Rae. They built
Shouts
empires
out to Issa Rae as well.
on YouTube, right? And now look where they're at, right? It was a launch pad for them. They built, great audiences and people who, really love their content, and they were able to translate that content and translate that audience, at another level, right? Partnering with a major network, right?
Right.
And where they could get the marketing dollars and the marketing support and everything that they needed to really blow it out, right? And so leverage those platforms that there's a lot of platforms out there, I say, to say that you can control, the artist can control the distribution and the monetization of his or her artwork, right? So ideally you become that person, right? You become that person that can do both, by leveraging platforms like Anchor or other platforms
Hmm.
that allow you to monetize, like audio podcasts, right? Your goal should be to really focus on building audience, right? That's the key. The hard part about media is building audience. getting
Yeah.
people who love the stuff that you do and who will consume your content. That will get you recognized. That will get you noticed. That will get you to the next level. You could have all the content in the world, but if you have no viewership and no listenership, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, I heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. No, that's a fact though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people who feel like they have a great product, but if you don't got nobody to sell this product to, then you just got a shitload of product in the warehouse.
Nate said something really interesting. They said that like content and media is like the only place where you can go and create a product without testing for product market fit.
Nate, that's a smart guy.
Yeah, I
That's a
mean,
very
he's
smart guy.
absolutely right. Right. Yeah, he was absolutely right. You know, they make films and they haven't gone out and asked the marketplace what they want. They're like, oh, let's just make this like we think the market wants
Mm-hmm.
this film, and the film flops, right? Or the piece of content flops because they haven't tested for product market fit. It's like, you got to test for product market fit, right? And that's almost the holy grail. Like, how do you test for product market fit in an authentic way to get real data back to say, okay, to inform your decision making?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a way to do it, but I also feel like some things you just kind of gotta take a chance with. Like I feel like some of the most amazing things that we've seen in any form of anything, whether that's media, music, or whatever the form may be. Some people just took a chance and said, "I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. And I'm going to create what I like." And
Yep.
some of
And it
those things
catches,
have been the most important pieces
yeah,
of creation in the history of the world.
absolutely. And I think it's somebody. There will always be the lightning in a bottle scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will catch lightning in a bottle, and he wasn't saying that to discourage people necessarily from trying to catch lightning in a bottle, but it's like if you could increase the probability of something being successful, and you're not just burning money, why wouldn't you go through the steps to increase the probability of success? Before you go out and do something versus just doing it knowing that the probability of success is low and hoping to catch lightning in a bottle, right? It's like mitigating your risk, right? Because if you do it and it fails, people will say, oh, well, you just set money on fire. If you
Right.
do it and it succeeds, it's lightning in a bottle, right? And then people have this disillusionment that it was easy. It wasn't easy, right? It was a
Right,
risk. It was a
dog.
huge risk. You just happened to, catch lightning in a bottle and be successful. But not everybody can do that, right? And the bad thing is it sets a precedent that like, oh, I can go out and do it too. It's like, no, you can't. Like that was the 1 in a million chance that worked out. You go try it 10 times, you're going to fail 10 out of 10 times. Like you won't necessarily be that 1 in a million,
No,
right?
that's a
So,
fact.
that was more the kind of the underlying thought was like, how do you increase the probability of success, especially, in our community where we don't have endless access to funding, right? We don't have, endless access to investors that are willing to give us money and still like us if we fuck up, right? If we fail, right? I mean that's our
Yeah.
that's
Kind of
our
kind of got no room for error.
very little room for error. That's it's been that way for a long time, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it probably will always be that way until you can break down you know you know issues of systemic white privilege and so forth and so on, where they can mess up and go into hiding for 12 to 18 months and dust themselves off and come back out and be go raise another bag of money to go do their
That's a
next
fact.
buy their next startup venture. I mean, their next idea. So it's we just don't have the convenience to fail.
No, that's a fact. I mean, I would definitely encourage people to go go for the gusto, if you will, but make sure you kind of got a plan. Like, not
Absolutely.
you. It's not too many opportunities or options for us to just throw caution to the wind and think that we might get a second, let alone a third chance. Yeah, let alone a first chance at that. Let's just be realistic about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
getting the first opportunity or the first chance to get into that room isn't guaranteed. So
Nope.
let alone trying to get a second or third chance, that's definitely not guaranteed. So once you get that
And it gets harder
opportunity,
if you fail the first time.
right? So once you
If
get
you're
that
successful, it
opportunity,
gets
go
easier to get that
crazy.
second and third chance. But if you fail, that second or third chance, it's like defaulting on a house. It's like defaulting on a
Real
mortgage.
rap.
Default one is fucking your credit. It's gonna be maybe nobody's gonna touch you. You know what I mean? And you know it's tough. It's tough for us. We just our people. We just we're just in a place where we get penalized a lot more than others for failure. It's not fair, it's not right, but
It is what it is.
yeah.
All right, so look, so we're gonna take a quick commercial break because we're running out of time on this one. We're gonna come right back, but I'm gonna get you out of here in a second. I'm gonna ask you two more things because we got to get the three gems in there
Sure.
for sure. Because the people definitely got to hear the three gems from the Aki Garrett. You know what
No
I mean?
doubt.
So we're gonna take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with more of the HolloTalk podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the HolloTalk podcast with Jetpack Nick and my main man, Mr. Aki Garrett.
It was good. It
So
was good. It was good. We're back.
so I got another question for you, or a talking point, if you will, right? So I'm curious to know what's some advice that you could give to creators that will help them make their art more compelling and transcendent.
Man, I'm probably not the right person to ask that question because I'm a terrible creator. I'm not a creator. In
I
the
mean,
art,
you deal with creators though.
yeah, I do. But I try not to give too much advice because it's probably bad advice. But no, I mean, I think, when I think about creators in general, I mean, I think, for example, something you're good at is just like a certain level of authenticity, right? Like, don't make what you think people want to see, hear, or believe, right? Like, make what is true to who you are, right? Be genuine and come from like experience. You know, use your shared and collective experience in your life to kind of inform your style, inform your creative output, right? I think that to me is like, something that should always be kind of, front and center, which is where am I pulling this from, right? It has to come from somewhere. Yeah, I think the best artwork comes from somewhere like deep. Well, and it could be a painting, it could be a sculpture, it could be a podcast, it could be a film, but it comes from somewhere like a deep-seated passion, like a deep-seated connection to whatever it is you're trying to create, right? And so, you know, I unfortunately people ask me all the time, so like, what should I be doing? Like, what do you want to hear on my podcast? Like, do I need to create a podcast? Like, do a certain thing on my podcast to to be seen as a better candidate for Revolt Podcast Network, or what makes a podcast work, right? Or what makes a piece? Or I think to me the biggest thing is just authenticity, right? Authenticity and wanting to connect with your audience, right? If you keep your audience first and wanting to connect with them and be your authentic true self, like that's going to yield the best product. Don't create a podcast, don't create anything trying to appease somebody else's interests or desires, because it just won't come off right. So yeah, that's where I would leave it at.
Okay, so to kind of go to this point, right? So
yeah.
Like just speaking as a creator, right?
Yep.
We often find ourselves in positions where we feel like being authentic or being genuine isn't appreciated in the space of business, right?
Yep.
It's not really something that we feel as though business people look at as a point of interest, if you will. People generally look at numbers. If you don't got 10 million followers on Instagram or 10 million followers on Twitter, you're not getting a look. But somebody like me or anybody else who's really basing their success off of the genuineness and the authenticity that they can push across to whoever they talk to, or whoever listens to their product, that generally isn't the thing that people look for, that are the people in the positions of power.
Yeah, like, so people who aren't authentic when they build big audiences, they're gimmicks. Right? I call those gimmicks, right? And gimmicks don't last, right? Gimmicks are exposed, gimmicks get exposed, and gimmicks have a finite clock, right? It's like a fashion trend to me, right? People who are authentic and don't have the audience will last forever. Their challenge is they got to go. Like, I firmly believe that there's an audience for everything.
Right.
There's an audience for everything, right? We have 7.8 billion people on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's an audience for everything, right? The challenge is you got to go find that audience, right? So it's not necessary, and you got to go find the audience that values what you do. There's a meme floating around out on social media. I think it's so telling, and you can extract this meme to anywhere or any product, right? There's a gentleman who's like a concerto, like world-renowned violinist, right?
Mm-hmm.
They basically put him on the street playing violin, and people paid him $1, right? He was playing the violin beautifully. They paid him $1. And then they moved him to a bar, right? So they put him on the street as if he was homeless. He was playing the violin. People give him $1 here, change here. Then they put him in a bar, and people gave him, $5-10, right? Playing the same music. And then they put him in, Sydney Opera House, and he got paid hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. People paid $1,000 for tickets to hear the same violinist that they were paying literally pennies to outside on the street, right?
Right.
And what that says is your talent is no different. His talent was no different out in the street. It's just the venue changed, the audience changed, and the audience changed. As the audience changed, the value changed, right? The audience at Sydney Opera House thought this guy who played the same exact music on the street was worth a lot more, right?
Right.
What that tells me is there's an audience for everything. You have to go find that audience. You have to put yourself in that arena where your audience is, and you don't have to jeopardize or sacrifice your authenticity,
Okay.
right? And so you can build up 10 million. Again, it's not easy, right? But I'm sure the person who was the gimmick and built up 10 million followers on Instagram, it wasn't easy for them either, right? Like, you can't look at the tip of the iceberg and miss what's under the water, right? Like, you see all the gloss and success. You see them at the top of the mountain, but you haven't seen all the work to climb to get there, right?
Right.
And so the key is not to compare yourself. The key is to say, okay, hey, here's where I need to get to. Here's where I want to get to. I got to go out and figure out what venue, what audience, what environment I need to be in to find my audience, right? And go to those venues. And I'm talking about not necessarily in a physical sense. I'm also talking about in a virtual sense. But put yourself in those spaces and places where what you do is valued, and where there's audience, right? Where your audience is and where they're going to value you, because that's going to help you scale your audience. Again, there's 7.8 billion people on this planet. Your artwork, your talent may not be appreciated here in the States. You might have to go to Australia, where people love you. Australia's got millions of people. You can get multi-million Instagram followers in Australia because your content resonates over there. It's a big world, right?
Right.
So you got to think big, right? You can't think just North America or just Philly or just Pennsylvania, or you got to think globally, right? And you got to think about, okay, where can I go where my art is valued, where my content is valued? And it may be a place where you're not really thinking, right? And so you got to be flexible and adventurous enough to say, hey, I'm willing to leave the confines and creature comforts of what I know to go out and pursue and find that audience that really values the stuff that I do.
Okay, so that would have been a better question for me to ask instead of the question that I did ask. So I guess the better question would be, what advice would you give people to find that audience? Like, how would you tell people, okay, you should go here or go there in order to find an audience that appreciates what you do?
Yeah, there's no if it was easy, everybody would do it. There's no like
Right.
roadmap or blueprint. There's no like,
I'm just asking based off of your experience being,
yeah, I mean, for me, well, I've never built a big audience. I'm not a creator. Like I said, I could
but
draw
you built the whole podcast network, man.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is this: in dealing with people who are, it's been a lot of trial and error, frankly, for a lot of people that I've come across who built scale audiences. It's been a lot of trial and error. It's been a squiggly line. It's taken time, right? It's taken pivots. It's like what I talked about earlier. It's product market fit, right?
Right.
Putting your product out there, seeing who it resonates with, and say, okay, using the data to say, okay, it's resonating with Black males ages 25 to 35, in major cities or in these geographies, right? And then you go to those geographies and you actually embed yourself in those geographies, and you go find those places where the 25 to 35 Black males hang out that tend to gravitate to your content there, and you start to fertilize the seed.
Right.
You start to fertilize, you start to grow that audience there, right? I feel like if you can conquer, your hometown, right? If you can really build a scale audience there, that's good practice, right? Because then you can go anywhere and kind of build a scaled audience, right? And you
Right.
start to go and you start to build scale audiences in different geographies, right? So data plays a big role in it. Just hustle and kind of embedding yourself in there and really getting to know your people, right? Like I also think it's important to stress that you don't necessarily need a big audience. What you need is a loyal audience. You need an engaged audience.
That's a fact.
I'd rather a creator have an engaged audience that's smaller than an unengaged, audience that's got 10 million followers, right? Or, a large audience that's not engaged, right? There's a lot more value you can extract, and a lot more value you can give to an audience that's engaged, right? And so sometimes it's not always about the size of the numbers. It is about that audience engagement, right? And so keep that in mind as well.
No, and the reason I even brought that up is because like I know that's something that you made a point to when you were on the panel at Rec Philly and you and Lindsay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you and Lindsay were talking about um the idea of having this data and things that you all extract from the data that you pull
Yep.
from the people that you hold as prospects of
Yeah.
joining
Like
Revolt
an
Media.
Anchor, for example, like you probably have access to Anchor to like look at like, okay, where's my podcast being listened to? What platforms is it being
Mm-hmm.
listened to on the most? What are the demographics, the age, especially in Spotify? Like
Mm-hmm.
Spotify, you get access to like demo data. Anchor probably pulls it in. You get access to like demo data, right? Like you
Yep.
should have a good idea who your audience is and where they're at. How often they listen to your podcast, when they listen to your podcast. I think there's like a heat map in there basically telling you
Mm-hmm.
what parts of the day, right? So like, look at the data and realize the pattern, start to double down on those insights that you're pulling out of the data to help expedite and grow your audience faster, right? And then obviously you got to put some money behind it, at times
Yeah.
put some paid marketing behind it to get it out to more people. So if a lot of people listen to your podcast at 3 p.m. on Fridays, you might go out and say, okay, I'm gonna start putting my podcast out at 2:30 every Friday. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna put a paid marketing budget out there to go reach an additional 15, 20, 30,000 people. Set your targeting parameters. I want to reach males 25 to 35 in these geographies, right? And then you put some paid spin behind it, and all of a sudden you might be able to listen to get a larger audience. That could be you posting it on Instagram, like an Instagram ad, and driving people to go listen to it, or go watch it on YouTube,
Right.
or you doing it on YouTube on your video show, buying YouTube audience against your show, to get more viewers on your content. That normally wouldn't watch your content, but now you know who it appeals to. So
Mm-hmm.
you can convert 3 or 4 out of those 10 out of every 10 10 new people that listen to your podcast or watch your podcast on YouTube. You're now growing your audience, right? So that's how you do it.
Yeah, and the reason I'm even asking is because I just feel like it's important, like for any creator or anybody for that matter, listening that's going to listen to this episode to understand the thought process of the people who make the decisions to say yes
Sure.
or no to whatever you're selling basically or the
Mm-hmm.
product that you're pushing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can have the greatest product in the world. Like I know plenty of people who have amazing projects or amazing products and just can't get anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for me to ask that question as the host of the HolloTalk podcast, having you on to see what the thought process is behind somebody like you or somebody in a position such as
Sure.
yourself that gives the thumbs up or the thumbs down essentially to say
Sure.
yes, we welcome you to such and such, or
Sure.
no, you're not the right fit for this because of these things.
Yeah, and it's going to vary. I mean, listen, I'm just one POV. Like you'll
Right.
probably get 1,001 POVs depending on who you're talking to. Um, but yeah, I think to me, I think it's again, I think most people would agree that's about building a loyal audience. Numbers are great, but if the loyal audience is not loyal, it doesn't work. And then making sure that you're leveraging data and insights to really drive, your marketing decision making and understanding and knowing your audience, and then thinking about ways to creatively engage with that audience and reach that audience, is the kind of the next step once you have those insights.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, from the man himself.
You're the first on the HolloTalk podcast.
On the HolloTalk podcast, right? Exactly. You know, say it. Go ahead, say it again for the people who ain't hear
On the HolloTalk podcast. Shouts out to Jetpack. Jetpack Nick in the building. Uptown's finest.
You already know. All right. So before we get to the last part, do you have any questions you want to ask me about anything? It don't have to be about what we talked about. It can be like anything.
What's your favorite candy bar?
Hershey. A Hershey milk chocolate bar.
Bingo. Bingo.
Why that question? Now I'm interested.
It just popped in my head. I was like, what kind of candy you like? You know, you can tell a lot about a person based on the candy that they like.
That's a fact.
It's a random question.
That's a fact. No, actually,
I tried to catch you off guard. Actually, I tried to stump you.
Listen.
Well.
What you said earlier in the pod, or it might have been off record, but you said I stay ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, stay ready so you have to get ready, right?
I stay ready, baby.
That's the key. Stay ready so you have to get ready,
you know,
right?
I actually want to ask this question. So you mentioned that you was heavy in music, right? So you kind of put yourself in this position.
Okay.
Can you give me your all-time top 5?
Oh, it's such a hard question.
I'm not letting you cop out. I'm not
solo artists or groups or what? So just solo artists?
What? Okay, all right.
I'll limit the solo artists. When you put groups in, it gets too.
I'm sorry. We can do 2 different lists. So give me your top 5 solo artists and then your top 5 groups. And this is an all-time list.
Solo artists.
All-time list.
5 would probably.
I give you mine too, so you ain't left in the cold.
5 would probably be. I'm better with like albums, like top 5 or top 5 songs.
Okay, I mean we can do that.
Let's stick with the artists because
all right.
The top 5 would probably be. 5 would probably be Drake.
All right, so you causing controversy already. You causing controversy.
5 would be Drake. 4. I'll give you top 5 in no particular. I'll give you top 5.
All right. No.
After number 1 for me, there's really no particular order. It'd probably be Drake, Kendrick.
This is all time too. This is all time list.
It's so hard. All right, it's all time. Let's scrap.
Yeah. This is an all time list.
All time.
I ask all times only for the most part.
There's so many MCs. It's scary.
I mean, I'm just asking for 5.
I gotta go Rakim.
Okay.
Kendrick. Rakim, Kendrick. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Just solo artists. Rakim, Kendrick, Black Thought.
Okay.
J Biggie.
All right. I'll say I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this list. I'm not.
And then groups.
Yeah. This the one I want to hear. Top 5 groups. It could be it could be duos or groups.
So 1 and 1A are going to be 1A. All right, so it's going to, so in no particular order, it's going to be Little Brother, De La.
You are a man of the culture.
Tribe.
You want some native tongue type.
Tribe. Cool G Rap and DJ. Well, Cool G Rap and DJ, but DJ Polo. I was like, he's Cool G Rap and DJ. EPMD.
Okay. We just need one more.
Camp Low.
Yes. See, this is why I like talking hip hop with people who know what the hell they talking about. Shouts out to you and shouts out to Camp Low, man. Uptown Saturday Night. That's a top 10 album of all time.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I gotta put Camp Low up there.
All right.
Actually memorized Uptown Saturday Night word for word, the whole album front to back.
Okay. So All right, time out.
Years ago.
Time out. So people don't understand what you just said. People don't understand what you just said. He said that he knows Uptown Saturday Night word for word, right? So the reason I'm prefacing this, like I'm making this a big thing, is because Camp Lo is easily, if not the hardest, one of the hardest groups to get words right, because you don't know what the hell they're talking about, or even the words that they're saying.
Yes, and they rhyme entire songs and like metaphors and similes and like abstract references, and it's like
exactly
not
like
always
Lucchini,
yeah,
if like I could rap it, but if you ask me what they said, I couldn't tell you.
What's the song? Diamond running straight to the paradise. I will flash. Look at Cantley Scash going parades with the black spades.
Spinning on the rocks. Sometimes, I know.
Yeah, I mean, like you got to listen to that song about 150 times to really understand what the hell they're talking about, right?
Listen, wait, what do you say? 54 chasing diamond runners in the ice. Yeah, like
Diamond
runners, like
paradise. Hold on, I was gonna start from the beginning.
Harlem Buckstruck, Reason World Heights, Hollywood,
Madam Butterfly.
Let me put your house of pleasure for the knuckle swat.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
You know, sensations at the Mardi Gras, she's screaming Chiba.
Yeah. Sonny Chiba and Geechee Suede, man. Shouts out the Bronx, man.
Yeah. Shout out to that. Yeah.
Do you want to know my five, or
I was about to come right back. I was about to come back and be like, yo, what are your five? Because if you put me through that mental anguish, I gotta put you through. I feel like yours is more like, I feel like you already know it. I feel like it's already like
I absolutely know it. But you know what?
I don't think consciously about my top five. So
I think about it every day. I think about it every day.
I mean, I know my top two of everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But before I give you my five, give me your top five albums and songs, because you said that was easier for you.
Oh no, songs are gonna be hard.
All right. Just give me
albums and songs are damn near impossible. I'll give you songs. Albums, I'd have to sit down and really think about that. That's hard. That's a really hard.
I think I might got my top five songs of all time too.
My top five songs. I don't know if I know the names of them. Well, Hiding Like These, Most Def and Talib Kweli.
Okay.
Cold Hearted by Blue and Exile.
Mm-hmm. Man, you pulling out some gems. Jesus Christ.
Cold Hearted, Blue and Exile. Calligraphy by Saba.
Jesus Christ.
And
this is your all-time favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I Do This by Nip.
Okay. All right. Shouts out to Nip Hustle, man.
I'm gonna have to put my top five artists of all time is my favorite. I might have to put Nip.
Oh, I mean, hey, I respect that, man. I ain't even gonna hold you.
Just
Nip Hustle was special, man.
On a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And then I owe you one more, right? I owe you one more song.
Yeah, one more.
Sheesh. See, my first two I can rattle. My first three I can rattle. Yeah, 3 or 4 I can rattle off easy. 5, my fifth one. Sheesh, this is hard.
I'm asking you the tough questions. My fault, man.
So give me your top. I'll circle back on. I'll give you the fifth one in just a second. Let me think about it.
All right, so I'm gonna give you my top 5 on everything I asked you. So I'm gonna start off with top 5 rappers of all time for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 1, I got Nas at 1. Number 2, I got Big L, who's also my favorite rapper of all time.
Okay.
So, that's, for people who know, Big L is one of them ones.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I'm going with Big Pun, who's my second favorite rapper of all time. Going with Pun.
I was saying my 5th favorite song of all time, Glamour Life by Pun.
See, a man of the culture.
That hook on that song is absolutely vicious. Buff Pun might have been one of the top 5 hook makers of all time. His
Yeah,
hooks were
listen,
crazy.
man. I ain't, and you and actually, you know what's crazy too? Like now that I'm actually like saying it out loud, like it's so crazy to think how many people, and this is across any like platform, whether it's music, movies, sports,
Sure.
whatever. Like how many people who had a short stint have such an impact on people to this day. Like
Hmm.
it's crazy to think. So
Hmm.
saying that to say for anybody who's doing anything, please don't think that your work goes unnoticed because you could be in it
Hmm.
for 2, 3, 4 years and you could be, you know, alive and well from that point to the end of time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so number 4, I'm going with DMX.
Okay.
I'm going with X. Uh, and 5, well, 5, I'm going with Jadakiss. I'm
Okay.
going with Kiss as my 5th man.
Okay.
And you know, I'm gonna just say my 6 and 7 because people probably like, oh, he ain't say such and such. My
Mm.
6 and 6A is Jay and Big. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. That's a strong list. That's a strong list.
yeah,
Yeah, I put Thought up there
that's
because
my
he's
5.
I mean, I think Thought is probably one of the most underrated
Oh,
lyrics.
easily.
It was just nasty.
I'm gonna put a little pressure on you real quick, just real quick. This is a Philly conversation for the people who gonna
Yeah.
be listening. This is a Philly convo right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's the best Philly rapper of all time?
Oh, Thought.
Thought by far over Beans.
I mean, it's different. Beans is nice, but Thought Beans is nice, but I still, yeah, give me Thought.
All right, cool. Sure, shouts out to both, man. Shouts out to
Yeah,
Black
shout out to
Thought, shouts
Beans,
out to
shout out to
B,
Black
shouts out to
Thought.
State Prop, shouts out to the Roots, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me Thought.
Let me see. Oh, my top 5 groups and duos of all time. All right, I got you. I'm going Mob Deep, number 1.
Okay,
Number 2, I'm going De La.
okay,
Number 3, I'm going Tribe.
okay.
Number 4, yeah, this is about to get interesting. Number 4, I'm going Gangstar.
But is that
I'm
really? It's
going.
not a duo.
I mean,
Primo's
you
a
right.
producer.
You
Primo's a
right.
producer.
You right.
That's like me saying Cool G Rap and DJ Polo.
I mean, all right. You right. You right. You right.
You know what I
You right.
mean? Primo's a producer, not a rapper.
All right. You right. I give you that. All right. So
You
me.
might say the locks. You can say the locks.
Yeah, they ain't my top 5. All right, we're gonna hold up. We're gonna hold off on the locks. We're gonna hold
I
off on
mean,
locks.
Jada is in your top
I
5. I don't
mean,
think the locks.
right, you're right. I mean, Styles in my top 22, so I mean, I guess that can. All right. You know, I'm gonna say locks. All right, so locks 4. See, you right. Number 5 is always the hardest one.
The hardest one.
All right, let me think. Let me think. See, this is tough because I got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 of them in mind. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna just say Outcast. I'm gonna say Outcast.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
I
I mean,
was
there's so many groups.
I was gonna say Dipset, but I went with Outcast instead.
I mean, that the problem with hip hop is, I mean, the problem with doing the top 5 is there's so many groups, and there's the catalog, the hip hop catalog is so vast. To cut it down to 5 songs, it's like literally like, trying to find a needle in the haystack. Like
That's
it's
a fact. But it brings fun conversation. Okay, so the top 5
absolutely.
songs because you still gotta give me your 5th song, but I give you
I
my
did. I gave you my 5th one was
oh
Glamour.
yeah, you did.
Fun.
Glamour Life. You're right. All right, so my top 5 songs of all time. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so number 1, I'm going You're All I Need remix though, the remix version.
Meth and Mary.
Nothing
Yeah,
Mary.
JB.
Second, I'm going with Hey Young World, Slick Rick.
Secretary. Okay.
Third, I'm going. I used to love her. Common.
Okay.
4, Bonita Applebaum Tribe.
Okay. Fine.
Bonita Applebaum Tribe. And then the 5th spot. Okay, so I gotta get some context on this 5th one, right? So the song I'm about to say, the reason that is in my top 5 songs of all time is because to me, this is the greatest verse in the history of hip hop.
Okay.
Okay, so and this will go into our next top five, which is albums. So the song is Memory Lane by Nas on
Mm-hmm.
Illmatic. The
Mm-hmm.
second verse on Memory Lane to me
Mm-hmm.
is the best verse in the history of hip hop.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my top five songs.
Okay. That's a strong top five. Strong top five.
All
Heavily
right,
influenced by hip hop. Like people are like, why would you put Saba up there? Calligraphy. If you listen to that
it's what
song.
you like.
Well, no, but if you listen to how like the deep meaning of that song, it's genius. Like, first of all, that album to me,
Mm-hmm.
Hair for me is just flat out genius, start to finish. The same thing like Minstrel Show to me is like just a perfect album, start to finish.
That's not the little brother again, man.
There's a lot of great albums out there, but yeah, it does it all. I mean, in that top five songs, obviously comes personal preference.
Of course,
You know.
of course.
Cool.
No, yeah.
Honestly, my favorite song all time though is "Cold Hearted." I've been saying that for years,
Mm-hmm.
by Blue and Exile. I've been saying
Yeah.
that for years.
I listen. I ain't mad at that. But that's what I'm saying. Like you pulled out some gems for the people who really like for the people who really listen to hip hop. They're
Yeah,
gonna appreciate like what we just talked about in that little short amount of time.
no
But
doubt,
I promise you, I'm gonna get you out of here. So I gotta keep my promise. So the
no
last
doubt.
thing, last thing. Can you please provide the people with three gems that they could take away from this conversation? This is one of the most important parts of the conversation.
It's probably gonna be the quickest three gems, just because I think they all speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
First one is be fearless, right? Be fearless. There's nothing to fear except fear itself.
That's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, be fearless. Like, go after it. Don't give up. Like, don't be afraid. Like, I don't. I'm scared. Just go, do it. Like, if you just do it. Like, don't talk, don't overplan, don't overthink, don't analysis paralysis to the death. Don't be fearless and just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Last one is, or second one is stay grounded, right? A lot of times, in your pursuit of whatever you're pursuing, as a creator, whatever, you can lose yourself. So it's important to stay grounded for a lot of different reasons. It's important for your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your social health. It's important for so many different reasons to stay grounded, and it's staying grounded is a verb, right? It's an action,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you have to do things to stay grounded. You have to figure out what those things are that ground you. Some people it's church, some people it's meditation, some people it's going to get massages, some people it's shopping, some people it's smoking weed, some people it's watching movies. Like, figure out what
Right.
they ground you and stay grounded.
That's a fact.
Last, and I think the most important, is what I call the indisputable order of life, which is God, family, and work. In that order, top to bottom. First is God. Nothing trumps your relationship with God.
That's a fact.
Your family. Then after God comes your family, and after family comes your work. I've made it a personal mission of mine, and I encourage everybody to make a personal mission of theirs to, when you are faced with a decision, to run the decision through that rubric and let the outcome be the outcome that you proceed with the outcome that comes out of that equation, right? If there's something for work and you got to do something for your family, thing for work gets put to the side. If it's something for God and you got to do something for your family, thing for your family gets put aside, right? Those are the three things. Those God and family matter the most, and work will always be there. It matters. It's important. Part of the reason why we live on earth is to contribute something to society. And I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
work there being a job. Work means
Right.
whatever you're doing outside of your family and outside of your relationship with God, that's work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it's not about, some people have had the unfortunate that their work is also what they do when it comes to God. They're called priests, right? But most of us are not that. And so, figure out what it is, that your work is going to be, your life's work is going to be. Pursue that. Be fearless about it. Stay grounded in it, but don't let it come at a sacrifice to your relationship with God, or relationship with your family. It's not
That's a
worth
fact.
that.
That
That's
is an
it, brother.
actual fact. All right, listen, man. I want to thank you so much, man, for
Thank you,
coming on
brother.
the How Talk podcast and talking to me, just sharing this space and opportunity to just talk to me and share so many gems about life and career and just being able to just put so much dope information out there for the people to absorb, man.
My pleasure, man.
From me to you is all love, man. I got nothing but love for you, my brother. I
Likewise.
appreciate you to the fullest degree. I definitely look forward to continuing to do some more work with you, man.
Absolutely.
We definitely
Absolutely.
gonna make that happen, man. I've been speaking it into existence for a very long time, and like you said, having my faith in God, putting in the work, and having my family support me has got me to this point, and
Amen.
hopefully it can get me further in my career, and see what life has to offer for me
For
in
sure.
space.
Mhm.
So definitely shouts out to you, man, for sure, for even wanting to do this and just
Yeah.
allowing me to build with you. Like I said before, like that means the world to me that you took your time out of your life and your busy schedule to want to build with somebody like me, man. And that is very admirable, and that's something that I can't thank you enough for. So shouts out to you. And also I want to shout out to the How Talk podcast listeners and supporters for supporting us through and through. um if you got any last words, man, please do. Anybody you want to shout out, anything you want to shout out with the little time
No,
we got
shout outs
left?
to you, man. Shout outs to Jetpack Nick and the Hollow Talk podcast. It's like I said, we need more platforms like this for especially in Philly and just nationally, internationally, just for young brothers and sisters to get together and connect and build and share resources and information. Proud of you, man. Your
Thank
dedication
you.
for season 5. Not too many people
Yeah,
say you
man.
did that. And just keep grinding, bro. Keep grinding, and you will reap the benefits of your hard work.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, shouts out. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and look forward to coming back and doing it again at some point.
Yeah, man, and hopefully by next time you come back, man, move my mom out the hood, man.
That's a little inside joke for y'all.
No, right. No, but where can the people find you though? Like Instagram, Twitter, where can they
Yeah, you can
find you?
find me on Instagram. I'm AkGeez215, AKGEEZ215. You can find me on Twitter at Aki Garrett. You can find me on Facebook at Akinwole Garrett. You can find me on LinkedIn at Akinwole Garrett as well. That's AKIN as in Nancy, WOLE. Last name Garrett, GARRETT. So yeah, tap in with me. And yeah, peace out.
All right, man. Peace and love, y'all. Hopefully next time y'all see me, I'm gonna be on Revolt Podcast Network.
Let's
All
get it
right,
happen.
man. Peace and love,
All right,
y'all.
bro.
All right,
Peace.
man.